Perfect. Hello and welcome to the JMac podcast. And tonight I am joined by three Cavan men to discuss their careers and the success of Cavan Gaels over the years. So tonight I'm joined by Martin Dunne, Enda King, and Chesty Reilly, Éamonn Reilly. So he's in good form. So guys, how's things?
Not too bad, John.
Good, yeah.
Very good. Can't complain.
Happy days. So I suppose it's an open question to everyone really these days, and sure I'll ask you first, Chesty. How have you found the last couple of months with the lockdown and bits and pieces? How are you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad, I suppose, John. I've kind of been going into the office most days, so I suppose I still have a bit of structure on my day. As Dunne alluded to, the only thing wrong at the moment is my hair. Need to find a hairdresser that's on the black market. But I suppose obviously missing golf, not been on there for the last few months as well. But otherwise, can't really complain, John, to be honest.
Good stuff. And then how are you finding things? You're busy enough, I'd say.
Yeah. Like Chesty said, lots of first world problems, but sports surgery clinic's very busy, thankfully, and things are working away from there. And again, I get to leave the house, which seems to be a very big plus compared to everyone else. We've 3 young kids, so a couple of them are homeschooling at the minute, so that obviously adds to my wife's stress rather than necessarily my own. But we're very lucky; everyone's healthy, all parents, everyone's in great form. So look, it is what it is. We keep paddling away, but I certainly don't have a whole pile to complain about.
Definitely. And Dunne, how's things with you? How are you getting on with the last lockdown and bits and pieces?
Yeah, I suppose more or less the same. I'm lucky enough I'm able to get into the office as well, so I'm not stuck in the house. I'm doing a bit of training, so it's kept going.
Not like you.
No, it's not.
You only started going into the office when lockdown came.
Exactly, yeah. I've been for a right shaft in here tonight, I know rightly.
Sorry, Dunne, this is just a random pick, by the way.
I've just been side texting me all day about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Waiting to get me for years, he has.
The only way to get Dunne to work is a stay-at-home order, like.
Oh, geez, great stuff, lads. And sure, we can push on to the football days, I suppose, what I have you here for tonight. So, Chesty, we'll start with yourself. You represented Cavan Gaels from 2000 to 2014. You've won 9 championships, and you played for Cavan from 2002, 04, and 2008. Chesty, that winning culture that was always instilled with Cavan Gaels over the years, 14 very solid years, captain for the majority of them years. How did you find playing for Gaels, Chesty? You loved it, I'd say.
Yeah, best years of my life. I suppose from growing up, all I ever wanted to do was play seniors with Cavan Gaels. Family's obviously steeped in the club, and used to love going to the matches with JJ and Paddy and Dad, and watching the likes of Packy Kiernan playing in midfield, and hoping one day that'd be me playing. So yeah, obviously when I got to the age and got my opportunity, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I have no regrets about any of those years at all, and obviously got a lot of rewards out of it as well. So yeah, great times.
Yeah, I suppose if you got the chance over the lockdown, and Cavan Gaels have obviously been putting up the videos on YouTube of all the county finals and some great days for you. How did you find playing some of them games, say in the early noughties, Chesty? Because that was a seriously good crop of Cavan talent that was going to come through in them years.
Yeah, I suppose we had probably a lot of underage success, I suppose, and that was a good foundation for senior level. We were probably used to winning. And when we made the breakthrough in 01, it was kind of probably a natural progression for us just to win the senior, because we were after winning everything on the way up. And we obviously had a great bunch of lads coming on, young lads. Average age of the team was probably 22, 23 years of age. So obviously there was some good teams, Gael and Mullahorn, etc., and it built up a great rivalry there. And obviously a lot of tough games, and it was good to look back on them on the videos. And we were lucky enough winning a few of them, and then we were unlucky when we lost a few. So we'll take the ones that we got to rub the green with.
Yeah, and I suppose he's very talented over the years as well. And I suppose you and yourself, and you see Enda King, and I suppose Shawnee Johnson over the years, he's came into a very talented group of players. What was it like to play with some of them gents over the years? It definitely would have spurred you on to be a very talented footballer and leader that you were.
Oh yeah, absolutely, sure. A lot of the training games were probably tougher than some of the league games or championship games that we're playing, with the 30 lads chomping at the bit to get on the team. All very successful lads and highly motivated, and everyone just pushed each other on. They were an easy team, I'd say. The manager, captain, from my point, there was no captain in them at all. Everyone used to go out and give 100% of training and match days, so it's an easy job for me.
Yeah, and the role of captaincy as well, Éamonn, like you were always given that bear. Like, how did you find it over the years? I suppose as you find it, there wasn't actually much kind of leading. Like, a lot of lads just kind of put in the work themselves. But how did you find it over the years, Éamonn? Like, did you ever find it challenging, or did you just love the role of
it? Probably kind of got used to it. Like, I was captain of the underage teams, and it was probably a natural thing. And my first year, probably captain of senior, was a big year for me, and probably took a lot of work and side work involved. But then, as the years went on, you probably just fell into it more and got more used to it and knew your role, and it was probably second nature then at that stage.
Yeah, geez, without a doubt. And it's the penultimate to win all them championships as well, Chesty. And I suppose you won your first one. Was it in was it 2001?
2001, yeah.
Yeah, 2001. Great to get the ball rolling then. I think Enda was saying to me off air, I think he's got bet in the 2000 final against Gael, so I'm presuming it was great to get the ball rolling in 01.
Big time, yeah. The 2001 was obviously there was a big celebration in the club getting to the final, and I suppose maybe we got caught up in the hype of that, and we were coming in against a seasoned Ghana team, and they beat us well on the day, and I suppose it brought us all back down to earth. Things just didn't fall into our laps like we thought they might have, and we obviously had the hunger then for 2001, and got Ghana then in the final again and overturned them. So it was a big day for the club. 2001. I remember Ghana scored a goal just after half time, and it looked like this could go again. The Gaels beaten again, so it was great to show a bit of battle and come back and win that final and show everyone what we were made of.
Yeah, I suppose that winning culture as well, Jesse. Like it does take a serious team to keep coming back and winning and winning and winning. Like was that instilled in you from day one when you started playing for the Gaels, or was that just something you just practiced and trained so hard on?
I think it was probably a combination of everything, and a combination of the 30 lads that happened to come together at that time. They all had a winning mentality. They all wanted to win. They all hated losing, and I suppose a combination of all the managers then probably drilled into that mentality that we had, and just drove us on every year. Every year there was always something that you'd pick out and say, look, I'm going to improve on that, or we didn't do this well last year, or what can we improve? And I suppose the whole thing driving us on that we never just reached was to win an Ulster club. So I suppose that was what brought us back every year and made us try and improve.
Yeah, because after all the county finals, I know you would have been doing the interviews with Paddy Shane and a bits and pieces, and every year you nearly were getting interviewed. It's funny, it was just a Groundhog Day every year for you. But Ulster Club Championship, did you find that kind of bit of pressure? Like, there was a lot of pressure when you did finish the county championship, but you definitely always did have capable teams of winning it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose if you look back over the scorelines, like the teams you were meeting were excellent teams: Crossmaglen, St. Gall's, Ballinderry. All these teams gone on and winning it, and you might gotten beaten by a point or two each time, and we were never getting a hiding or anything up there. So it was, small bit of luck didn't go our way on the day maybe sometimes, and I suppose that spurred us on to come back again the following year. I wouldn't say there was huge expectation or pressure on us, or I don't think that was a factor in it. I think it was just we met some seriously good teams up there, and just on the day just weren't good enough on the days.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it was 09, 08, and lots of success. And you won your last championship in 2014, Jesse. Like, a great way to bow out, and you were managed by a serious manager at that time, Peter Cavan. Not a bad way to finish up.
Yeah, brilliant. I was going to retire the previous year, and Balliol bet us in the final. So I wasn't going to bow out on that note, so I said I'd come back and give it one more shot. Didn't know at the time that Peter was going to be the manager. So I remember meeting him. I met him in the Crow Park Hotel. I was heading off, I think it was to Gavin Duffy's wedding or something, and I was in my suit and tie and the whole lot, and was in the lobby waiting for Peter Cannon. He came in, he was looking, I said, Peter, and he's like, Chesty. I was like, yeah. He goes, where the fuck are you going to? I was trying to explain to him I was heading off to a wedding and stuff. So
it was the best that suit looked all day anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. But I thought he was a brilliant manager, and it was great to get the win, and especially in the circumstances in the final against Kainscourt and pulling it out in the last couple of minutes. So yeah, that was a very special one.
Yeah. I suppose we did touch on the Ulster club, and Slough-Neil, you did come up against a seriously strong Slough-Neil team. Disappointed that day, Chester? What was the emotions coming from that game at the time?
Yeah. Obviously went in, didn't fear them, had our homework done. Didn't perform at all in the first half. I think we were 3 or 4 points down. Got a score just before half time. I think we went in 3 or 4 points down, and we'd all to play in the second half and ran at them and kept going at them. And I think we deserved a draw. Looking back on it, missed a free, which time was nearly up, and then from the resulting kick out, they got a score, so they bet us by 2 in the end. But I think that was there for the taking that day. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we can touch on your county days as well, Éamonn. You represented Cavan in 2002, 04 and 2008. I suppose, did you enjoy kind of playing for the county, or was club enough commitment for you?
Yeah, a tricky one, I suppose. Obviously loved playing for Cavan, and it was a brilliant honour to put on the Cavan jersey. And when I got the phone call from Mickey the Pound in Red Hills, I think I was only 18 at the time, and asked me into the panel. Obviously unbelievable and felt class. Just found it probably tough, yeah, because the Gaels were probably at the business end every season back then. We were in the county final, so you're playing up until October, and then if you won in Ulster and you were on till November, and next thing you were back straight away pre-season, and the whole. I just found the season just running in, and I never got any break at all. So that was my only kind of issue with the club versus the county. It was just it was never seemed to be kind of a break between the two at all. It was just non-stop slog for month after month. But obviously playing for Cavan and putting on the jersey is obviously some of the best memories you'll ever have.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I suppose you touched on the commitment Cavan and Cavan Gaels kind of brought. What did you make of the commitment over the years for club and county? Éamonn, like, I know you've done brief spells on the county, but even club, like, did you enjoy the commitment that it brought to your life?
I did, yeah. It was a great structure. Like, I love knowing that I was going to train on a Tuesday, Friday, match on a Sunday, and then whatever I had to do in between. Whereas since retiring, you've had to try and fill that gap with other things, and you've obviously, it leaves a big gaping hole in your life. You don't realise it at the time, but you're lucky to be going out training on a Tuesday and a Friday and a Sunday. Whereas now, I'd give me left arm to be going training on a Tuesday, or going up the Barrack Hill to go into Terry Coyle again, which probably will never do again. So.
Mm-hmm. I suppose what was the final decision on retiring, Chesty? Because like what was like the final nail in the coffin, or were you just had enough of it at that stage?
Getting married.
Getting married.
No, like I've been in Dublin all my life, and 15 years driving up and down to trainings, and obviously after getting engaged and knew I was getting married, and I knew I was going to have to make a choice at some stage. And the way the trainings were going and the commitment was going, it wasn't as if you were going to be allowed. At the time, we weren't allowed to train a Tuesday, train up in Dublin or anything like that. So it's just a combination, I suppose, of factors came together, and that was it.
Yeah, great stuff. And can move on to yourself, Enda. You got 7 championship medals for Cavan Gaels. You represented them from 2000 to 2012. You represented Cavan 2001, 2002, 05, 07. So a lot of experience all over the place. Like yourself and Chesty, you grew up playing together, I suppose. What did you make of playing for Cavan Gaels, Enda?
Yeah, I mean, Chesty summed it up. It's the best day of your life, and for lots of different reasons. You're healthy. You're seeing your friends, your best friends, multiple times per week, and you're lucky to have some success, and the crack that comes after having success, and the crack that comes on the way to having success, and everything else. So, like, it was phenomenal times. Obviously, slightly different in that even though we were living in Cavan Town, Dad was from Lara, so obviously, Lara is what I would have known first, but actually really only for a year or two, because I think we started training Terry Coyle when we were 6. Eugene had us all bet up Barrack Hill very quickly, so I don't actually remember football pre going up to Terry Coyle, and so it's like, as Éamonn said, the place is steeped with history, and it's actually the history probably something I only appreciated later on. Often we'd have dinner dance or something, and you'd be going up to JJ for a few pieces to put together for dinner dance, and he'd be taking you through the history of the club and stuff like that, and it's just, it's endless. So what it meant for me really was, they were my primary school friends and my secondary school friends, and a core group that we had the whole way coming through, that it pushed each other competitively and socially for a long time, and just the best of days. Your body does what it wants to do and responds to training, and kicks on. So yeah, it's wonderful time, wonderful memories. And you can reminisce and feel a bit thing, but I mean, especially in COVID now, when you reflect back about how lucky you were, to have a group like that come together, because you can have very, very good footballers but are playing in clubs where maybe there's not a whole lot coming together, and then to have a club that was as well run and well organised, we were very fortunate.
Yeah, and I suppose we touched on it with Chester there, but what was it like to be part of that winning culture and as well, because that was a really good years you've done with Cavan Gael. What did you make of that what was it like to be part of that winning culture, I suppose?
I think it's a thin edge, and when I look back, there's a couple of wins that turned the team into a successful team versus going the other way. I remember we played 17, maybe 16 or 17. We played Kingscourt in a minor semi-final or quarter-final down in Rammer, and they had an unbelievable team at the time. Kingscourt Star, it was amalgamation of Reilly Gaels. Yeah, I mean, they had an unbelievable team at the time, and Crotty got sent off again as usual, and we're down to 14, and we won it by a couple of points, and like that, I think I got more. That was the first game I really felt that we were successful prior to that, but that was the game that we won. Not that we shouldn't have won, but that we were really up against it. And then we moved away into senior. We're doing quite well. The Gael defeat, I mean, they were a lot better than us on that day. Like they were, I wouldn't say in their pomp, but certainly they were very seasoned, very, very good. Yeah. And we won the league final against them that same year, and that was a huge monkey after, because Gael, I mean, they had another phenomenal team, like all the Bradys, Darren McCabe. I mean, they had an outrageous team. So it was a huge thing for us to win that. And once we'd beaten them, in a final, it really teed us up for the following year. And then once we got one under the belt, it really, the momentum came and it fed into that. So I think, it's one, as Éamonn said, like you have a group coming together who, fight each other as much as anything else to try and push on training. But there's a couple of wins that, even the Ulster Minor Club, there's a couple of wins that were the makings of that group of players. And then I think that carried really, that's what set up their self-belief for whatever they came afterwards. And the successes and, the plenty of defeats, because ultimately, unless you win in a Club All Ireland, every year ends in defeat. But that resilience to, recap and go again, and away you go.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And your role in the team, Enda, as well, obviously with Chester being captain, but you were obviously probably one of the better midfielders in Cavan over the years. And what did you make of playing that role? Because I can always remember that catch, I think it was against Ballina, you must have just went about 50 metres in the sky. What did you make of playing that role over the years?
Adrian Dunne was making about €1,000 every time that video put up.
You're paying him to put it up.
You're damn right I am. It's about all I have to get. The longer you retired, the better you were. It's definitely, you could draw a straight line between the two. I love playing midfield. I dabble around a bit in different positions, but I played a while of wing forward, hated that, and Ray Cullivan and St. Pat's tried me at centre back for a while, which in theory probably dimension wise I might have been better suited to, but I love playing midfield. I always did, and was blessed with great midfield. Like at minor I was playing with Nicholas. Then he went to Australia, I was playing with Cahill, and then we working the whole way up. So like we had great partners all the time over the years, and I mean you the solidity of what was an unbelievable defence behind you, in terms of Rabbi and Crotty and McGlade and Chesty and Smitty. This unbelievable defence behind you, and Owen giving out like reams, keeping everyone sharp, and then. Yeah. You were feeding ball into forwards that were moving all the times. Like Big S was creating, so it was lovely to be sitting in the middle of all of that, and just trying to carry the water from A to B and let them at it.
Yeah, And I suppose the standards of Cavan football over them years as well. And what did you make? Because like you probably would have come up against the likes of obviously Mullahoran, good Gowney teams. Like, and what you make come up against teams like that? Because you alluded to Darren McKay from Gowney. Probably the best midfielder that ever played ball in Cavan, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, teams come and go at different times. So it is Down were at their peak and just coming to the far side of that when we came through. Then Mullahoran, had a good team. I mean, they did phenomenal work to come back to 4 finals in a row, having lost 3 of them. And then there was various teams coming after that. Kingscourt came quite strong afterwards. So I think, again, going back to the way that we were fortunate is that there was an ongoing evolution even within our team. So as certain players were dropping off, let's say Mickey finished up, James Dunne finished up, there was younger talent coming through all the time. And so we were very lucky, you're there, Rob Maloney coming through, Jelly coming through, Dunne coming through, always pushing from the underside up and out. And so I think we were lucky that while there were there were good teams across that period, we were having even though there was core elements to it throughout, like Bowie and Ford, and that kind of stuff, that there was a little bit of freshness to our team every year, and that helped keep the thing pushed on.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. You represented, as I said, Cavan 01, 02, 05, and 07, and how did you enjoy playing for Cavan? Because that's a fairly good year to be representing. We would have had strong teams back then as well. What was it like them years, Enda?
Yeah, it's when I look back, I suppose it's a bit like Éamonn says, it was fairly continuous, from year to year. I couldn't say I played my best football with Cavan, for various reasons. We went in after that 01 final. We had a really good county under 21 team at the time as well, actually, and probably played too much. Had numerous soft tissue injuries. Really struggled to make any kind of indentation. Had a year when you probably want to be good, and then got another run of it a little bit later, and again, had a couple of groin surgeries and a few other bits. So it was great to be involved. Learned a lot, but couldn't say that they were the best contributions I ever made after. But actually, to go from probably where you were established in a team to really struggling to get into the team, learned an awful lot about that, and learned an awful lot about how to try and contribute to the team, and what you were good at, and maybe can't all be there in the team, whatever else. So learned a lot through those years. I think it's going to be for the second half.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I suppose you didn't feel maybe the club probably went better than the county. What do you feel was the reason for that, Enda, or was it maybe your output was maybe a bit laboured at times, or did you feel you're putting it all into county, or what was the verdict of that?
Well, I think I could split it in two. I could myself. I think the first time, I probably would have been better served by playing only with the under 21s and just committing to one master. As Éamonn said, you're after coming off a big long county club year, to commit to one county team would have been enough, and with a really good team at the time as well. And if that went well, then so be it, rather than splitting yourself and college teams as well. And then second time round, I had plenty of hip and groin issues over the course of my career, and that was the start of it. And probably was trying hard to make an impact instead of managing myself well, and not really making a solid contribution. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and do you feel would you think that the Cavan teams you were involved with over them years, do you think you could have tagged on an Ulster Championship?
Yeah, it's interesting. There was some really, really good years, and then there was getting bet by Waterford and Breffni Park. So there's a real spectrum of what happened over that period. But there was class footballers there. Again, Pierce. When I started, Pierce McKenna and Dermot were midfield. You'd the Reilly's from Knockbride. You'd 40 there. So there's lots, and the Gaels were very well represented over those years as well. So I think there was enough talent there to push things on. It just didn't get over the line a few times, which it's amazing actually. It just shows you how time flies. I couldn't believe it was 20 something odd years when Cavan won again this year. It just doesn't seem that long since we were walking around the town in '97 celebrating that one. your career and those lumps of time go by in just such speedy lumps that it's you don't appreciate this, as Éamonn says, when they're flowing one into the other. It's just such a merry-go-round to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll move on to yourself, Martin. So what's the crack now? So you've won 5 championships for Cavan Gaels. You started playing for Cavan Gaels in '07, and you're still playing. And you represented Cavan from 2012 to 2015. So, like, lads, what was it like to play for the Gaels over the years? These two boys would have taught you a lot, I suppose.
Yeah, well, they probably put a bit of fear into us when we were young fellas, when we first went up to Terry Kyle into the senior team. But no, I suppose the same as kind of the lads had said there. Like it's everything to put on a Gaels jersey for me, and that was always my number one goal was to try and get into a Gaels senior team. So I would have watched these boys. I said my first memory of them boys was the St Paul's tournament in '99, 2000 when they won that, and that kind of I was about 11, 12, 13 at that stage. And I remember going up to Belfast to watch them games, and that kind of was a bit of a thing that I wanted to do myself. When you seen the kind of crowd, it was the first time I would have really seen crowds going to club games and stuff like that. So that kind of spurred me on a wee bit. And then obviously seeing them then when they went into the senior team, what they were doing year in, year out, and that kind of fed into the underage team that I was lucky to be a part of. With the Gaels, we had a strong group of players, and we won more or less everything from under 12 up to senior. So we had that winning mentality coming in there as well. So it was a seamless transition nearly to go in from minor, say, into the senior setup where we were used to winning, and like we thought we were used to winning until we went into the intensity of trainings with the lads, and it was just a different level. Like, so, but it was daunting at the time going in as a young fella, but definitely days I'll never forget anyway. With that group of players.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you broke on in 2007. That was probably a really, really good year to break on because the Gaels are coming really good then, and you were absolutely flying it. You would have been playing with like a lot of good players. You would have been watching a good lot of lads. What was it like to kind of break on, say, '07, '08, and kind of get that starting jersey?
Yeah, well, I suppose 07 I was still a minor, didn't really get any championship time. Maliki O'Rourke was over the team, but he was in contact with me the whole year, saying that he wanted me a part of it as soon as the minor was over. So luckily enough, we won the minor. Was on the same day as the senior, and the next day he rang and he said, "Look, I want you on training Tuesday night." So I'll never forget my first game was coming on in Ulster Club against St Dunans, and it was definitely probably one of the highlights of my career. I'll never forget in Breffni Park. Coming on, I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was more excited. I couldn't wait to get on, to get playing. But I suppose then the couple of years after that, I probably found it a wee bit difficult to get into not get into the team. I was getting plenty of game time, but the transition was probably tougher than what I was going to thought it was. I was a small, light fella at the time, like, and to step up into senior football definitely caught me a wee bit on the hop, like. So look, it did take me a few years to get the best out of myself in senior, but they were definitely good years, and I can't complain with how it's gone.
Yeah, Enda looks like he wants to win here or something, but
No. I'm leaning in to listen.
Yeah, he was saying there was more rows in training earlier on. It was always him that was giving out and starting the rows.
If he was a small light fella, then what does that make him a small what now?
I can still move just about.
And I suppose, Martin, that winning culture that you would have been part of over the years, and you're obviously very dominant from '07, '08 onwards, really. What was, as I said to the lads, what was it like to be part of that, Martin? Obviously, great crack, really, I suppose.
Yeah, there was always crack. That was one thing you always got in Terry Kyle, like before training, there'd be great crack and after. But once we started to warm up, there was no real joking or messing. The lad said there, like there was games that you would have been having in-house games. Lads even sitting on the bench that couldn't even get a game in an in-house game that were tougher than some of the games that we would have played in league and championship. So I suppose the work ethic of the group probably drove them teams on, and I suppose that Ulster club thing was a big thing for us, and probably still is. It's talked about nearly every year. Like we would have loved to have won one, and that probably drove us back year after year, trying to be the first Cavan team that done it. And look, it just didn't happen, but it's still the goal. It's always nearly the goal every year. You don't really want to talk about it, but you have it in the back of your mind because that's just the mentality you were brought up with, and it was a winning culture, and that's all you wanted to work towards.
Yeah, I suppose Chelsea alluded to him there, Peter Cavan, Martin. What was it like to kind of be managed by him in 2014? Because as a supporter yourself, that is the dream.
Exactly. I was actually on the Cavan team at that stage, and I'd say I was finishing Cavan training and I was going up to Terry Kyle for the end of for club training for most of the year, just to be around what was going on, and the fact that he was over the team. Like, obviously we idolised him as a youngster. He was one of the best forwards to ever play the game, so I wanted to be around him as much as I could. So I found myself, as soon as county training would be over, I wouldn't be going home. I'd be going up to Terry Kyle. If the gates were shut, I'd just turn and go home. But more often than not, the gates weren't shut, and there'd always be boys up there hanging on. So I tried to spend as much time as I could. Obviously, I didn't get as much time as I wanted around it with playing with Cavan. You're not able to get to every session, but he was definitely good, and the professionalism he brought to the club when he did come definitely got us across the line in 14.
Yeah, and I suppose we can touch on your county days as well, Martin. You would have started with Cavan in 2012, and I suppose your exploits in 2011 would have brought you onto the county fold. You had a good few years of Cavan. Geez, you were very good with them now. So, what did you make of playing for Cavan over the years?
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed playing with the club, and that was the reason why I didn't go back after the couple of years that I did give it. I just wasn't enjoying it. The county game didn't really suit a player of my stature, the way it was going with these mass defences and stuff. I wasn't going to be one of these lads that wanted to stand in with 6-7 back standing in front of you, maybe more, and then maybe wanting to track back down the field. That wasn't really appealing to me. I fell in love with the game of Gaelic for getting scores and all out attack. So kind of the way county had went at that stage, it wasn't really enjoyable for me, and that's why I decided to pull away from it.
Yeah. I suppose in 2013, you had a great championship against Armagh. What was like that day in Breffni Park, kicking was 9 points? A serious day for yourself.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the highlights anyway. It didn't start too well. I think I missed a 20-yard free from more or less in front of the goal.
The boys will remind you now, will it?
Oh, yeah, get that the whole time. But lucky enough, I usually always get whipped off with the boys. It was over, used to whip me off if I missed a few like that. So lucky enough, I kicked one just shortly after it. So I got another 5 minutes, and then I kicked another one. So they couldn't really take me off. So kind of second half, it just was all natural at that stage, and everything just seemed to go over. So I was lucky enough.
Yeah, I suppose kind of balancing the kind of, as you were saying there, with Peter Cavan Manchester 2014. How did you mind kind of juggling that Cavan Gaels and Cavan like elitism really, Martin? Because like it was a tough juggling act, I suppose.
Yeah, it was. I suppose it was the only time I was joint captain with Éamonn that year, and I suppose club would always come first for me, 100%. There wouldn't even be a question about it. So when I was made joint captain, I wasn't going to kind of abandon it. Like it is hard. I was lucky enough. I was based in Cavan. If I had been based in Dublin, there would have been no way I was getting up to Terry Kyle on a Tuesday night if Cavan were training on a Tuesday night after for even 10 or 15 minutes. Look, it is very, very hard to juggle both. And that's why you said there, if you get to a county final and you win the Ulster Club and you go on into November, at that stage, Cavan teams were back training at that stage. So you might have got a week or two off and you weren't really getting a chance to recharge the batteries. You weren't really getting any holidays. It was just year after year. And it does take the toll on the body, and it's not just physically, it's mentally as well. Like it is very hard going. There's nights you'd be driving down the road and be saying, Jesus, why am I going here? It's a dirty wet night in December. So you have to take all those things into it. But look, it's a very short space of time when you get the chance to I suppose, looking back now, to represent your county. So look, I'm glad I done it. It was a privilege to play with Cavan, no doubt about it. But just the one regret I would have had that we didn't win anything with Cavan. That was the only thing. We had a couple of chances to win league medals and stuff, so it passed us by. But would have been nice to win something with Cavan as well.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And the summer of 2013, Martin, I was talking to Ronan Flanagan there a couple of weeks ago about it, and he absolutely loved it. It was actually a great summer. That was a year we probably could have won something, really. What did you make of that year, Martin? Let's say the run through the qualifiers even.
Yeah, I suppose it was a bit of fresh air at that stage. We were playing it. A lot of people would have said at the time that the Cavan team would have been defensive, but that year we we would have put up good scores. Like we weren't really overly defensive, and it was enjoyable. I suppose we probably got robbed against Monaghan. We lost by a point in the semi-final. We didn't probably play the best we could have. A couple of mistakes. I suppose Rory Began, I took about 25 steps with about 2 minutes to go on the 20-yard line. That would have got us an equaliser. But look, that's the way it goes.
Not bitter about it at all.
No. And Stoke Monaghan went on and won it, and we were probably looking at that stage when we grouped and seen them beating Donegal. We probably said, look, geez, we weren't far off them, that we could try and go places here. Probably no one gave us a chance when we went to Derry, and when we bet Derry up in Derry, it probably gave us another wee bit of confidence, and we were lucky we got over London in the next round. But against Kerry in the quarter final, I suppose I'd say the stage kind of did get to us in the first half. We kind of froze a wee bit. Things didn't go the way we wanted it. The second half, we were a completely different outfit. I think we actually outscored them 2 or 3 points in the second half. Yeah. But it was definitely a big day that I'll never forget. Not too often you get to run out in Croke Park, so in front of 50,000-60,000. So it's something that I always remember.
Yeah, and I suppose you were kind of referencing Cavan's kind of defensive style of play over the years, and we probably did play it a lot when you were involved. What was kind of the breaking point, maybe in 14 or 15, you kind of said, feck this, I'm gone, kind of?
Yeah, it was probably the way it was gone. I probably wasn't getting as much game time as I thought I should have been getting as well, and I wasn't happy with that. So probably myself and the manager probably didn't see eye to eye at the time, and that's just it's probably well known at this stage. So there was no point in me there and being unhappy. If you're not happy doing something, there's no point in slogging it out, because you're no good for yourself or you're no good for the rest of the boys. So I just said I'd pull away at that stage. I thought I was happy enough with what I had done. I wasn't liking the way the game was evolving at that stage. Like it just seemed to be getting more defensive, and I just said no, couldn't do it anymore, and just decided to pull away.
Yeah, I suppose how happy were you to kind of jump back to Cavan Gaels after the county experience with 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth? I'd say you're delighted to just kind of get back in amongst the lads in full commitment with them.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, look, at the end of the day, the lads you train with in Terry Kyle are your best friends, and the lads that'll be at your wedding and the lads that'll be at your funeral, like they're friends for life. And if you ever need anything, they're the lads you'd call. So to get back in amongst the lads, you can chat to them, they can understand. A lot of lads at that stage had played with Cavan themselves, whether it be the older players or the younger players that was there. There was a lot of county players that had gone and had been. So you could talk to them about it, and you could suss out a few things. But it was definitely good to get back in Terry Kyle, because that's where you have the most crack.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Clubs where it starts and finishes. JJ Reilly, Éamonn, no better man to probably start off. Pay a bit of tribute to JJ Reilly, and I suppose how big of a legend he was for Cavan Gaels, Chesty.
Yeah, I suppose obviously he was like a father figure to me. Up in Terry Kyle, obviously my first memories are of him, John Fee, Dad, etc. up there. Probably instilled the passion in Cavan Gaels club into me, which obviously has never left me. And obviously his passing in 2015 had a big impact on me, and probably still does. Nearly if I was driving up the Barrackhill into Terry Kyle, I'd expect to see him there. Such a big man, big strong man, and for him to be not there anymore is still takes a bit of getting used to. But I suppose he probably, the amount of lads that went under his tutelage in Terry Kyle and out in St. Pat's, and the messages of support we got after his passing was a nice tribute to him.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I suppose, to be honest, we don't probably see many men like him nowadays, Éamonn, and he did leave such a mark on Cavan Gaels football and even Cavan GAA as a whole, Éamonn. And at the end of the day, he's hard replaced, I suppose.
He is, and he was obviously a single man. Cavan Gaels was his family. Football was his family. He gave his whole life to it, and he loved every minute of it. He loved walking down the street and meeting Dunne or meeting Edge and having a chat about training the night before or the match at the weekend, or then he'd meet someone from Mullahorn or Kingscourt and he'd talk to them about how their club was going, who they were playing. He could spend probably 3 hours walking around the town talking to people about GAA. Everybody knew him. He was a big man, easily recognisable, and football was his whole life, and he just loved it that way.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And Enda, what about yourself? Any memories of JJ to share with the listeners there?
Any amount, like you just see the big hand coming onto your shoulder there if you're either encouraging you or steering you in the right direction. But like the two things I'd say about JJ was, he along with those that were with him at the time, really set the agenda for the type of football. Like JJ's catchphrase was fast hands. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I ever saw anyone shoulder the length of field in Terry Coyle. They wouldn't get 3 steps, but he had the whistle blown and turn. So he very much, drove that style of play of moving the ball quickly and letting the ball do the work. And I think that's what, even though I didn't have to worry about it, like, but let's say you'd individually talented lads like Dunne and Jelly and the likes of that, like the style of play was always let the ball do the work and always 1-2s and always moving along, and that all came from him. And second thing then was just as a role model, it's Chesty can be having a hot enough head in him, you know what I mean. So there's a strong, warm, Reilly streak there, but I mean, no matter who we were playing or what we were doing, like you never saw JJ losing the plot, and you never saw him. It was only but the picture of the way someone should carry themselves on a football field and in the community, and not only in the way he gave to the club, but I mean the way he gave to the greater community as well. So. Look, just an example, and when you're taken early and very much still in your prime with heaps to offer, it only doubles the shock and the loss.
Yeah, and Mark, what about yourself, JJ?
Yeah, I suppose I had JJ from I was under 10 the whole way till I was minor, and I had him in school as well. So look, he was a huge part of my career and probably molded me into the footballer that I was. And it was one thing he always said to me was, if you think you can score, don't be afraid to shoot. So there's plenty of boys give me plenty of stick from shooting from bad spots, but if JJ Reilly says shoot, I'll not complain.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I suppose, Éamonn, yourself, who would have been the best players you can have played against and with over the years?
Oh, tough one. I suppose played against anyway. I have to put Peter Cavan down there. Marked him in the National League final in 2002, and he was obviously a hero of mine growing up. I used to love watching him. And then Maddie Kerrigan told me he was marking him the night before, so I didn't sleep all night. Arrived down to the pitch, and he was standing beside me, shook my hand or whatever, and ball was thrown up, and he was standing behind me, and he had his hands on his knees, and he was bent over, and he was breathing really heavily. He was like, I was thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this fella's fucked here now. Going to have a great day. Mark and Peter Cavan in Clonus. So this is class. Next thing, he was kind of daydreaming, and he shot off about 30 metres away, got the ball and stuck it over the bar. I was like, all right, don't worry about that, Grant. He came back in then behind me, down on the hands and on his knees again. He was like, I thought he was actually having a heart attack. I was like, he definitely won't be running again now. He's fucked after that one run. Ball was kicked out to midfield. I don't know who, Jared Cavan or someone caught it, kicked it back in. Cannon was 30 metres gone from me again, over the bar again. Manager, I had to go out wing back then. It only lasted a few minutes in on him. So that was my Peter Cavan story. Yeah. Apart from him, players I played with, like everyone in the Gaels, so it's hard to single people out. I suppose starting off, Mickey Graham and James Dunne were probably heroes of mine. Looked up to them. Always wanted to be like them, and then to be shared a dressing room with them was a dream come true. And then sure, you just take an array of talent from there. Adge, Dunne, Jelly, Mickey Ling, Cahill Collins, Anthony Ford, Crotty, Nelligan. Like the list is endless when it comes to the club, and it's very hard to pick anyone above anyone else, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Well, what about yourself, and who would have been the best player you played with and against over the years?
Against probably one of the years we played Ballinderry, or Mark and Enda Muldoon. And I considered I played quite well that day, and he still caught probably about 5 balls over my head. He was outstanding, and even actually remember Chesty were playing minor under 21, Peter Dunne and Sean Cavan were midfield.
Right.
And at the time, Peter Dunne was probably the better of the two footballers. He'd start his run somewhere in the half-back line and finish standing on the top of your head, catching the ball. And it's just interesting how things go. Obviously, he's an unbelievable S&C coach and made a valuable contribution to Cavan over the years as well. But they were probably two of the more daunting experiences to have. Back in the club, as Chesty said, you could list and rhyme through them all. I think what was most interesting is as you look back now, is how they all played their part. We're only talking there recently about the talent even in cornerback. With Fergal Brady there playing cornerback the first couple of years, you went in Shane McGlade. And I mean, them boys probably could have played corner forward in a heap of other teams. They're just such natural footballers. But a really good, big, strong spine up through the middle. So I think it was just, again, natural footballers. The defenders probably with a bit more of a touch of the tinker about them, more so than anything else. But very, very lucky. Lucky being the operative word to be involved in such a group.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, Martin, yourself, the best player you played with and against?
I suppose the toughest fella I ever marked was a fella called Kevin O'Boyle from Antrim. It was first league, National League game I played with Cavan. It was up in Casement Park, and I'd pointed left and it was going right, and I thought I'd lost him, and it was about 6 or 7 yards out in front of him, and about the time I was about to put my hands on the ball, he was whizzing by me. He was a bullet, and he's only actually recently after retiring there. He's a serious player, and probably just didn't get the recognition he probably deserved, because he probably didn't get enough big days with playing with Antrim. But he was the toughest cornerback I ever marked. He was a serious baller. And like that, as the lad said, it's very, very hard to single out who the best player that you would have played with. There was so many. Like, I suppose Mickey Graham was probably a cousin of mine, and probably idolised him from I was knee height. Going to Terry Kyle, he would have been a big factor in me going up there. So, but he probably would have been the one. Like, but it's very, very hard to pick out anyone, because the amount of talent that went through the gates of Terry Kyle was second to none, and everyone was as good as the next man that went through it. And you never had to look across your shoulder to see if you had any man that was needed to come behind, because you knew there was 4 or 5 lads there just waiting to take the slack.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And Éamonn, I suppose it's an open question to you lads and everyone really. What was the verdict on the 2020 Cavan Ulster win, Éamonn? Because obviously that's a lot of hard years of work and dedication. What was the opinion on it, the verdict on it?
It was brilliant, and brilliant given the year that was in it, and gave everyone a big lift. I remember watching it here in Dublin, and sent a text to a few lads. I'm sure everyone just wanted to meet up that night, so we went out and had a few takeaway pints, and everyone was just buzzing. And even skipping into work the next day, knowing that I was going to be talking to fellas from Dublin, and they'd be congratulating you, and it just walking 10 feet tall for the week. And it just, when it happens, you don't realise it until maybe it does actually happen, what it means to the people of Cavan. It's just such a football county, touched everybody, and something to talk about, something to be proud of. And the lads are great ambassadors, and deserve all the plaudits that they're getting. It was an unbelievable achievement, and proud as punch of the lads this year now, and
And what about yourself, Cavan's 2020 Ulster win?
Yeah, phenomenal heart, and the standard of play was outstanding. You have to say that, like, you feel, as Éamonn says, the pride of the win, but also the pride of the performance across a number of days. And delighted for some of the lads that are, it's a long old stint for some of them. So the likes of Groden, Martin, Reilly, and some of the lads that are put in serious stints. It's as Dunne says, it's to put in a stint, and you want to have something to show for it, apart from the great memories that you obviously have. Like, no matter where them lads go, and hopefully they'll build onwards and upwards from this. It's a real line in the sand in terms of achievement. And even the 97 boys, always, like, you always remember who was on the 97 team. And I think, the young generation now coming through will always remember the players. And great to get the All-Star recognition as well, especially, obviously the Galligans had outstanding years, but Faulkner has been outstanding for club and county for a long time. So I think it's fair recognition for them.
And what about yourself, Martin? You would have played with a lot of them lads up until 2015.
Yeah, and a lot of them stuck at it when times weren't easy, in fairness to them, and got their just rewards for putting in that effort. The scenes, like I'll never forget. I was in the bridge when they were coming on their own. A lot of them were driving on their own, and the crowd that was in the bridge was unbelievable. And then to go in round town, like you just couldn't get in round it. There was that many cars, and you thought you were going to go every wee back road and nook and cranny to beat these cars, but every place was just chocker block of cars. It was scenes that I'd never seen anything like in the town before. It was just everyone with their windows down, music blaring, walking the streets. In the strange times that we have, the lift that they gave the people of Cavan was unreal, and I don't actually think they know themselves the lift that they did give the people of Cavan. If they had witnessed the scenes they were up in Breffni Park of the people that was round the town in their cars was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I suppose Enda or Éamonn, you remarked on it as well. Like it is probably a good individual. Like there's no kind of individuals in that kind of Cavan team. There's no kind of massive standout players, and it was just a good team of hard workers, I suppose, Chesty.
Yeah, absolutely, and all working together, and they all knew the game plan. But as Enda said, the character that was in them, like they were never beaten ever in any of the games, and no matter whether they were 10 points down or 5 points down, and that's something that you can't train or you can't instill. It's in a lot. It's just in you or it's not. And obviously had 15 to 30 lads, and it was all in them. And once you do it once, then I suppose you get belief. Then the next day, if you're behind, we did it the last day, we'll do it again. So it was just incredible performances all the time. Incredible character from them.
Yeah, well, and then yourself, obviously with your role, you're all into performance and elite athletes, and you've worked with some top dogs. What impressed you about maybe the physical presence of the Cavan lads, and what stood out most for you?
Yeah, the games were all such unique events on their own, in terms of coming back from Monaghan and stuff like that. But the intensity against Donegal and the sustained intensity against Donegal was quite incredible. Like, so people talk about intensity in the tackle, and then they take the head of someone. Like, that's not worth a shit to anyone. Like the quality of the turnover ball, like the number of times they turned over the ball in their own D or in their own square was outrageous. Not only in the Donegal game but throughout the season. The quality of tackling from Jason and the guys at that was just phenomenal. So it was that sustained intensity, and like it's interesting. Like one of the benefits probably from COVID has been, if you did stay winning, was that run of games and the ability to generate some momentum and improve the quality of your football week on week on week, which probably is a bit of a challenge, where you've week on, maybe 3 weeks off, week on, 3 weeks off. So it probably kept the training side of things very much focused on the technical side of things and what they want to achieve, and was fundamental to create momentum. So many things came together, but obviously the fitness levels these days are out of this world, and Andre Quinn, who's been involved the last couple of years, not only in terms of I think they had, huge availability the whole year round, but the sustained intensity was quite incredible. And obviously come up against Dublin and Croke Park alone will stretch out the legs, never mind that Dubs team, but they still, stuck at their task very well when lots of other teams would have just thrown their hat at it. So look at a great year and very much hopefully onwards and upwards.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by that Andre Quinn, the role of an S&C, and how important is it actually in with the county team? Because as Ronan Flanagan alluded to it last week on the podcast, it's absolutely essential. Yeah,
it's probably both. A good S&C can really make you're looking for iterative gains. Going back to like when we were playing ourselves with county, you're trying to become a county player in a year, and that's not possible. Like the training loads from club up to county are just, there's no night and day, and that's back when we were playing, never mind now. So you're looking for an iterative approach that every year and physically a bit further on. And similarly, a bad S&C, and I mean that bad in terms of unstructured or excessive, can break you, and the roll back is very, very difficult. So what I thought about Cavan was they looked fresh and they looked ready to prepare and perform every game they played this year with quite short turnarounds. So I think you look at the overall athleticism and the way they're improving, but also the availability. It shows the excellent work that was done. Yeah. I suppose, Martin, I'll ask you this question. Did the players, probably as a GA as a whole, did they get enough credit for actually playing in them conditions? Because there's no fans. It was all about mindset. And at the end of the day, I don't think they really got, I know the All-Stars is probably enough, but
generally, did they get enough credit for what they've done, like as a whole, the GA players?
I'd say they were probably glad that they got to play, but they'll definitely have missed out on tens of thousands of Cavan supporters running in on Clonus or the Athletic Grounds when that final whistle had went. That would have been something that I can still remember from '97. Even if you look back on YouTube clips there that were coming up over the lockdown, you see the flags, the banners. Like, they'll never get that. It's a shame that they won't get that, because it's in 23 years or whatever it was to the last one. It's not something that comes around every year as a Cavan footballer. So maybe the one chance that they might get, it would have been lovely to have it and see them get the recognition that they deserve. But hopefully when the world is good again, they will get some sort of a reception, and I'm sure they will, and it'll only be duly deserved what they do get.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I suppose last question to all you lads, Chesty, how important is it that Cavan actually push on and get a few more All-Stars? Because we know Ray Galligan, Borg Faulkner, Tomas Galligan has picked them up last Friday, but how important is it that we actually push on and get more, I suppose?
Yeah, I think it is important. Like, it's when you say that we got 3 on Friday and we only had 2 ever before that, is quite incredible. So I think even for young lads talking out, to know that you can win an All-Star, or that it is possible if you put in the hard work and the graft. So I think this year, obviously, brilliant year, but as Enda alluded to, should use it as a building block and try and continue on the success. And why not have people nominated for All-Stars every year?
Enda, yourself, what would be your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think, when you look back and we've talked about games that we were playing in, like, the ones that annoy you are the ones that you should have won. And so, like, you want to see that team beating the teams they should be beating and then moving on. I thought this year they bet all the teams they should be beating. And then you're looking for an evolution for, a couple of players get a couple of percent better, 1 or 2 new players in to freshen up and bring it on another level. So I think whenever fixtures happen, Division 3 will be a very, very clear line in the stand. You got to deal with that and deal with it positively, and then the championship will look after itself again. So there's more than enough talent in the county. We just have to get them churned out and let them do the work from there.
And we leave Martin with the last word. What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, look at it. There'll be lads there that didn't get nominated or were nominated and didn't get All-Stars, and they'll be looking to say, well, look, I'm not that far away. If these lads I'm there with them, there's no reason why I can't get it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the way I'd look at it. I'd look at going out into any big game. If you know there's a man of the match or whatever, you want to be the player that's going to be getting that. Like, you have to be kind of that wee bit selfish to kind of motivate yourself and drive yourself on. Like, so I would say that if any of the Cavan lads would say to you, Jesus, I'd rather those that haven't over an All-Star, the back of the mind, they'd love an All-Star as well. So look, that's in the back of every player's head. You want to be getting these accolades.
You do anyway, Dunne.
100%. That's why we put in the effort, Edge.
You're damn right, son. You're damn right. You're only one good enough to get it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Mark, you were nominated in 2013. Probably unlucky that year, but sure, you might go back to playing for Cavan next year. Who knows?
It should be 40. Play with the Masters.
That's brilliant. Boys, that was an absolute pleasure. Martin Dunne, Éamonn Reilly, Enda King, thanks so much for joining me on the JMac podcast. It'll be up ASAP. Guys, thanks a million and have a great evening.
Cheers, John.
Thanks very much.
Bye, John.
Good to see you, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Take it easy, lads.